Hello and welcome to today's webinar of the Building Summit. I'm Chloe McCulloch. I'm the Build It Buildings editorial director, and this webinar is where the Building Awards Digital Excellence finalists share their next steps. So we have 5 guests with us today, and I'm hoping we're going to get lots of detail about the initiatives that led them to being shortlisted for the Digital Award and the challenges they've overcome in carrying out their work. And as the title suggests, we'll also hear about their plans for the future and hopefully share some lessons that will resonate with the audience here today. So on the panel, we have Luke Braggins at Alinea Turner & Townsend. We have Gary Cowan at Kane Group. We have Segal Rubel at Chetwoods, Paul Selby at BAM, and Robert Stiles at Future Joinery Systems. So just before I hand over to our speakers, a reminder that you can post questions throughout this 1-hour webinar, and we will try to answer them after all of the presentations have finished. So if thoughts occur to you as people are speaking, do just note down your questions and we will be checking through those for the final Q&A session at the end. Also, you might like to know that this is being recorded, so it will be available shortly after we finish on demand via building.co.uk. And we have other sessions coming up today. So there's another one at 11 and another one at 2. So do tune in again later in the day for more content. Right, enough from me. I think we are going to start off by talking to Luke. So the rest of us are going to turn off our webcams, and it is over to you, Luke.
Thanks, Chloe. Share my screen. Morning, everyone. My name's Luke Braggins, and I work for Turner & Townsend Alinea. So our initiative was to be a truly data-led digital cost consultancy. We were focused on delivering the best data-led digital cost consultancy service to our clients, and this was underpinned by some key work streams. The first of those was BIM. Now, BIM has always been a specialism of ours, led by Richard Bates, but we've seen a steady increase in moving from designers drawing in Revit and using 3D models to BIM actually being implemented on projects, which has allowed us access to those models and allowed us to harvest the quantities from models on far more of our projects. Costex has been our preferred cost planning software since 2019. And again, that was adopted with this vision of a digital cost consultancy. So we can make use of the integration between the Revit model data and our cost plans, and then ultimately link those cost plans onto our data planning software. In terms of that software, it's allowed us to create a bespoke environment to house our data. It's primarily fed from the Costex templates, and that's a single click process that automatically imports not only cost data, but area data, key metrics, etc. as well. That data is then live on the system immediately, and the reporting dashboards refresh every hour, so maximum 1 hour wait, and then all of that information is available to the business. Digital working is just a term we use to kind of summarize all of the above. And then in terms of carbon data capture and measurement, we're continuing to develop and improve our data around embodied carbon so that we can offer advice, both cost advice and embodied carbon data advice during the design stages when we're looking at optioneering to try and guide design teams and project teams to the right solution. In terms of some key metrics there, so 100% of our staff are database trained, and then at the time of the submission to building, 78% of our cost consultants were Revit trained. That's now increased to 100% again for everyone who needs that training. And then during the period we were monitoring it, we'd seen 100% uplift, as I say, that movement away from just drawing in Revit to actually using BIM on projects and being able to make use of the models ourselves. In terms of this side, key things that I want to pull out from here are around that BIM and digital working. So key to this whole process for us has been Richard's work in building relationships with design teams, so that we can get models set up in a way that allows us to harvest data efficiently from the models. And that's been something that has been well received from design teams, and those relationships continue to improve and enhance. Consistency in the cost decks was key for us, both being able to link backwards to the Revit models, but also forward to our data planning software. So to get around this, we developed sector-specific templates to guide our team in how they should be preparing their cost plans and inputting the data. And then, as well as having that data available in the software platform, there's also the option to use an embedded Power BI capability, which we've made use of, which has allowed us to develop a suite of reporting dashboards that link directly to that data. In terms of carbon data and measurement, our offering has been enhanced by the recent merger with Turner and Townsend, and we now have access to the embodied carbon calculator, which I'll come on to further on when we look ahead. In terms of how we do this in the process, there's a bit of a project workflow example here. So starting with the Revit model, it's reviewed, checks that it's set up in the correct way that we can use it effectively. We can then harvest the data from the Revit model and bring it into CostX, link it to our area schedules within CostX, and then those can then be linked to the cost plan itself. So there's continuity there through from the Revit model all the way through to our cost plan. If we get an updated model in, again, we can just upload that into CostX using multi-sheet function, and everything's automatically updated through the cost plan, anything that's area driven, which gives us an updated cost plan, which we can then upload to the database. And as I say, that's then available an hour later on all the reporting templates within the software. In terms of the benefits, so time savings is a key one. So little metric there. The Revit accelerates our area schedule calculations from weeks to 3 days on a typical 10-story building. So that's a huge improvement for us. Allows us to be able to spend more time on areas that we can add value, as opposed to just on measurement. Less time on benchmarking because it's all automatically and pulled through from the cost plans themselves, and then ultimately enhanced reporting using Power BI and having that connectivity between the data and the reports as the live link has allowed us to develop further reporting templates that allow our team to have access to the live data immediately. Further on the benefits, so all our data is online, so there is no need to use hard copy documents, Excels, etc. It's all stored online, and that is a live app and web-based platform. So it's available at any time to our team and across multiple devices. And then in terms of BIM and the live data, the whole point of this is we're preparing for how we see the industry going, as I'm sure that everyone else sees the industry going, and really just trying to be at the forefront of that. Key challenges that we faced. Firstly, what data to collect. When we consulted the team as to what they would like us to collect, there was an overwhelming amount of data that just would not have been practical. So key for us was to consolidate that down into what we thought was realistic and what we thought people would actually input into the system and ultimately use out of the we don't, as generally people don't like change. So key to overcoming this was both demonstrating the benefits right from an early stage to our team, so that we got the motivation there and got the encouragement there going, and then ultimately training so that people felt confident in using the new software, the new templates, and they were able to implement the changes. Consistency of input and output. This obviously is vital for when we're trying to create this automatic link all the way through. It can fall down in a number of locations, so templates and training again were key around that to ensure that consistency throughout the process. And then ultimately challenging ourselves. This is new for all of us. and we have found solutions and ways of doing things, but it's really a constant process of looking back and going, okay, that's how we decided to do it. Is that right though? Are there better ways of doing it? And again, the merger with Turner and Townsend has allowed us to look at different ways and different solutions that others have come up with, and again continue to challenge ourselves back and forwards as to what the right solutions are. Looking ahead, what we'll be working on, so continued refinement of reporting templates, so that's continually happening. Development of further sector templates as we expand our remit. Enhanced integration of Revit models and Costex, so that we can harvest more data directly from the Revit models into Costex. And then ultimately, the merger, as I talked about with Turner and Townsend, has been a fantastic move for us in terms of now that accessibility that we've got to their suite of digital toolkit and the apps that they've developed, some of which there is some overlap, but in particular, two key items that are really exciting are, as I talked about, the embodied carbon calculator. So that links directly to Costex. We can harvest quantities straight from there into the embodied carbon calculator, and then produce an estimate of that. And then their extensive use of e-tendering within the public sector and their larger infrastructure projects, and that's something again that we were already developing, and now we can continue to do so with an enhanced offering to the market. Thank you very much.
Oh, that's brilliant, Luke. Just you dropped out slightly at the bit where you were just you were just finishing on talking about some of the challenges. I think it was around what data to collect. Hold on, I'll just turn my camera on a little minute, see if I can.
Yes, no, of course, yeah.
Yes, so I think you mentioned that, and I just wondered how you got over that challenge around deciding what you were going to collect.
It was essentially a refinement of the consultation process. So once we had that initial, what was 500 odd rows on an Excel sheet and 10 columns wide, it was a process of then going back through with individuals, picking out what are the key things that we will look at, retrospectively looking at what is the output we're trying to produce, and ultimately then what do we need in terms of input data to produce that output in the reporting. What questions do our clients want the answers to? What do we need the answers to? What do designers need the answers to? And basically working back from there. And we'll continue to develop and expand that, and have done since the submission, in terms of what data we're collecting. But it's just that continual process of, we had a starting point of what we thought was realistic and necessary, and then as we've gone on and learned, people have used it and come up with new ideas, we've expanded that.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. It's just in case any of the audience missed any of that, but you only dropped out for a couple of seconds. So thank you very much for that, Luke. We're going to move on to Gary at Kane Group now. So Gary, over to you. I'm going to turn off my camera and it should all be with you.
Okay, thanks very much. I'll just try and see if I can share this. Let me know if you can see that okay.
Yeah, that's showing up fine.
Brilliant. Well, good morning, everyone, and thanks for attending today's webinar. I'm delighted to be invited today to talk about our award shortlist for last year's Digital Excellence Awards, for which everyone at Kane was very, very proud to achieve. My name is Gary Khan, and I'm the head of digital construction for Kane Group. Kane has a strong heritage in designing, developing, and delivering building service solutions throughout the UK and Ireland. We're an established multidiscipline services contractor employing in the region of 250 staff, with offices in Northern Ireland, London, Glasgow, and the Republic of Ireland. Last year, we submitted an entry for our groundbreaking precision MEP setting out system that we developed completely in-house, with support from and in partnership with Hexagon Leica Geosystems. At Kane, we have always prided ourselves in being at the forefront of MEP design, with a strong focus on MMC, modern methods of construction, and placing an emphasis on sustainable building practices, which has led us to become specialists and market leaders in prefabrication and DFMA, design for manufacture and assembly. And precision has always been at the forefront of our designs, with a right first time attitude. The concept for our set and out system was for us to have the ability to translate precise coordinate points from our highly detailed and data-rich 3D models. That in turn would allow us to mark key positions on site for hangars and framework fixing points. And this would then enable a fast turnaround of accurate placement of soffit-mounted lateral frames, as well as positioning of floor-mounted skids and frames. And this then would in turn enable further prefabrication of all the joining elements that would join the lateral frames to the skids on the floor, which would normally be site measured and fabricated in situ. And that would remove a lot of hot works and dangerous works from site back to a factory setting where it can be tighter controls on health and safety and quality. So at the time, we reached out to contacts that we had within the industry and asked a few questions of solutions that were in existence. And we were pointed towards an existing system from Leica called ICON, which was a civil surveying system, totally nothing to do with MEP. It's mostly used in the civil and structural engineering industry for precision recording of geometric positions and setting out of steelwork frames, for example, in civil landscaping and roadworks. And we suspected that this system could be reverse engineered to meet our needs, and we immediately set out to work with Leica to develop a bespoke system that suited us. So initial tests of the system proved its viability, with the system demonstrating an immediate increase in accuracy and drastic decrease in installation times for our lateral frames in the Claridge's project, where we had no site storage whatsoever, and all of these frames had to come in a defined sequence and be installed within the same day of being delivered, in a very complex logistical project. So once we had proven the viability of the system and we proved that it could work and it was as accurate as we was hoped it was going to be, we then turned our focus of the system to our standard traditional installations to see if this system could be used for other use cases, such as our residential, commercial and educational projects that were suffering from accuracy and datum problems at the time. It was quickly realised that we could pre-mark all of our high-level services for routes of centre line, direction changes of ductwork, pipework, cable trays, etc., as well as all of the prefabricated modular frames and goalpost hangers, which again would remove all of the human error on site and dramatically increase the installation speed and efficiency of the operations on site, as well as reducing material wastage and downtime for considerations for fixtures and fittings and things like that. The very first time that we did it, we sort of looked at it and said that it would also remove quite a lot of unnecessary drawings on our dimensions on our drawings, which sort of clouded the drawings and made them very hard to see, and caused a lot of queries from our site teams back to the BIM team as to confirming dimensions or adjusting dimensions or checking dimensions. And then for the guys on team on site, it also removed any human error for incorrect measurements, someone reading a tape wrong or reading the drawing wrong and translating a dimension to site, which then would have to be cut back out and fixed again. And what we found from that was that it also significantly decreased the material wastage from sites, because the guys kind of had a dot-to-dot picture to follow on site, which meant that material wastage was drastically reduced by up to almost 80%. And it also made us aware of, on the site ordering team then, the guys didn't have to order as much materials for the guesswork that is normally done in a traditional system. So the very first version of the system that we sort of came up with required our BIM technicians and the teams to manually place these points on the underside of the soffit in the model, and also had to fill in all of the metadata in the point that would give it its color, its reference, its plot number, for example. The color signifies what the service is. So blue is for ductwork changes of direction, yellow is for lights, green is for air terminals on the ceiling, red is for any fire alarm, etc. So it gave the guys on site a colorized dot-to-dot to follow for their installations. But this first go with the system really almost didn't work, because the amount of time that it takes for a BIM technician to manually place up to 1,000 points on a typical floor plate took so much time as to almost make it unviable. And as well as that, it still had an element of human error involved, because the BIM technician could miss points, he could mistakenly put it in the wrong position, and he could incorrectly fill in the metadata. So straight away we realized that we had to look into a further system for this, and look for almost an automated system that we could use. So it was around about that time that we were becoming pretty proficient in using Dynamo for Revit as well. So I spent a few weeks doing a bit of research and development, and we came up with an automated script that would analyze particular elements and automatically place a point directly above it on the underside of the slab, and also fill in all of the metadata depending on what the element was that you chose. So if you chose a ductwork fitting, it would fill it in as blue with all the metadata and all of the space data that it fell in. So if the fitting is in a particular space, all of the space data is consentated into a unique reference for the point. And this dramatically increased the speed and precision of the coordinate placement and removing all human error, so no points could be missed and no points could be placed incorrectly. And that sort of made the system viable in itself then. So the overarching result then has been a complete shift in the build sequence on the sites that we have pushed this technology with our tier 1 clients, as we can hit the area as soon as the structure is completed. We can mark out all the points in one day and have our site engineers install as much as 70 to 80% of our total works at the first fix stage, which would have been pretty much impossible beforehand. We have found that it's approximately 5 times faster than if we waited for the walls and used them as our datums, and also it removes the possibility of a datum being incorrect. It decreases the overall timescale required to fit out the typical floor by a really significant factor. The color coding systems and the halo sprays that you can see there also allows fast QA for our site management team to be able to check for exact positioning of air terminals, sprinkler heads, and cables for lights without having to refer back to any manual drawings or take any manual measurements on site. So we can catch anything that's been missed or incorrectly installed at the very earliest chance possible, removing all risks at a later stage of the project. So as you can see from this picture here, this is now what our typical first fix install looks like without any internal partitions up. We are able to confidently and accurately install, as I said before, probably up to 70 or 80% of our services, including all of the cable work that is awaiting installation of all the head tracks and walls, so that upon second fix, all you really have to do is install the back box and the conduits in the wall, and the cable is already coiled up above your head waiting to be pulled down through the conduit into the back box and terminated for an end connection. And we've seen, as I said before, we've seen a massive uplift in speed, efficiency, and a massive reduction in material wastage, downtime for considerations of drawings, and far less queries between the site ops team and the design team, because it's pretty much an amazing system to follow. There's not really too much to go wrong. So from last year, from we were in the awards, we've continued on with more developments in surrounding technologies with Leica Hexagon, and we have sort of focused on the final piece of the puzzle in terms of building a true digital twin. And we've used reality capture technology from Leica for as-built verification. So we invested this year in Leica BLK 360 G2. We now use that on our sites for as-built verification. So here you'll see our point cloud of a project in Canalside that we're doing for Gilbert Ice at the moment. And this is the as-built point cloud sort of overlaid on top of our Revit BIM model. And you can see straight away that you can see the deviation that was done on site. So this is actually a really good example of where our BIM team had missed a downstand concrete beam. So obviously the site guys had rectified that with the correct install. So this makes it very, very easy for our BIM team then to roll back into the model and correct the installation to a very, very high degree of accuracy, where we're aiming for less than a 10 to 15 mil deviation from what was actually installed, which we believe is a true digital twin. And it completely streamlines the as-built process. We're no longer waiting on manual markups from site or dealing, with site teams. One guy can walk the entire site and record the entire site in 1 to 2 days, and then that can be then put onto the cloud and put back into our design team. And it's almost like a 3-dimensional photograph that comes into the model and allows our technicians then to correct the model with extreme accuracy and speed. So this technology also gives us the ability to check constructed assets for deviations to builders' works, for example. We're able to perform clash detections and novice works, as you can see here, for all of our prefabricated elements against the actual built asset prior to sign off of the manufacturing, assuring that our clients that all of our prefabricated items will arrive to site completely correct and be able to be installed without any issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gary. That was great. And I think it really brings to life the practical applications of some of this digital technology. So we're running a little bit behind now. So I'm going to speedily move on to Sagal at Chetwood. There you are. I'm going to turn off my...
Andrew, we've got some nice images.
Thank you.
Sent through. Are those
Okay, I'll share my screen.
the in current build of the timber?
Oh, we're getting a little bit of interference on your line. Is that...
It's just, yeah, it's just because I'm in the office. Yeah.
Fine. Okay, that's okay. Just so our audience understands where that's
Yeah,
coming from.
thank you guys. Sorry about that.
You want me to confirm if your slides are showing?
Yes. Can you see them?
That's looking good. If you are able to put it into presenter mode,
Yep.
then pick up. Brilliant. Okay,
It's just we'll need their,
that's looking great.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Sagal. I am at Chetwoods Architects, and I'm part of the Works team. So the way Chetwoods works is there is 3 divisions within Chetwoods. One who leads the technology side of it, which I'm part of, the Works team. We've also got Thrive, who look at the sustainability aspects of projects and consultancy, and then we've also got Studio, who deliver concept design and work with us from the very get-go to come up with amazing initiatives to for projects. Today I'll be talking about our award entry, which is the analyzing human emotional response to design and spaces. Why our initiative is so innovative at Chetwoods is that we are now using cutting-edge technology to measure human emotional response to building design. No other architectural practice is currently undertaking this initiative. Historically, architects have only been able to use their experience and intuition to predict how a design will work and how we could only validate their assumptions in the physical world once the project is constructed. But as Chetwoods, we are utilizing cutting-edge technologies to make design process more effective. Our research program is currently recording, analyzing, and understanding human emotional response to buildings and space design. We are using the analysis to guide the design of the current schemes. We are undertaking the study because we want to capture, measure well-being, and identify how the design of buildings can enhance happiness and create a positive and more healthy experience for users of the space. We believe that the research will be transformative for the design and more sustainable built environment by reducing the need to redesign, adapt, and build further down the line once the schemes are already been constructed. And also the designers, we do not want to feel neutral about our spaces. We want to inspire, excite, and provide a comfort, and more this technology will allow us to achieve this. So what our initiative is and how it works. Our initiative is using new technology in an innovative way to capture data on human emotional response to buildings and design. We are then using this data to analyze our current schemes and improve our designs. We started creating a data-centric approach by analyzing existing design process and stages and evaluating where technologies can be trialed. This included combining cutting-edge technology in digital monitoring with BIM and VR and generative design, and creating digital twins ready buildings. We also investigated AI, deep learning, and computer vision to analyze models of buildings and spaces. Our challenges was to select the best technology to provide this insight, quality, and level of data to inform our future designs. After detailed testing, we decided to trial Toby Sticky Pro, a digital technology, selected an early concept design of a new school for our first analysis. Sticky Pro is an online cutting-edge eye tracking and survey tool that gathers feedback from multiple people across different locations. It uses artificial neural networks, which are applied to computer vision and turn are used to effective computing. The program analyzes even the smallest facial movements to deliver data on emotion response. We choose this technology for the flexibility and large number of people it can trial. Other immersive technologies such as 360 degrees visualizers provide a similar in-depth data, but involving traveling to the technology, supervision and setup. Trials are limited to one at a time. This restricts the number of responses and unrealistic rollout to trials across the multiple projects. So evidence of the benefit of initiative is that the first trial we used on a current client a concept scheme for a new school library to analyze emotional response to design. Since then, we have trialed multiple different initiatives and schemes using this technology. But for this entry, it was selected because the children mental health and impact of spaces on learning came to the forefront during the pandemic. For many children, productivity fell when they studied at home, and the ability of spaces where they worked to inspire concentration was undoubtedly a factor. We believe that we could determine what type of spaces inspire concentration, joy, and interest in children, then our designs could make a considerable impact. So we trialed numerous options by amending statistic images of image into the selection of the different designs. To test response, we adapted more color, enhanced light, and plants to increase biophilia and include patterns and textures and for nature. So we were able to run a trial, and then once the experiment was done, we were able to render different images with different concepts. We thought that would work and evoke some sort of emotional response to design, and we were able to get results through this, and this would be used to influence the final project. So through the use of this technology, we were able to pick up eye gaze and eye fixation on the design. As you can see, these little points over here highlight the different levels of eye gaze. As you can see through the different options, some evoked more emotion than others, alongside the facial expressions. So this would allow us to pick up people's reaction and response to design at an early stage, and this technology would be used at an early stage as it would allow us to use as a design tool to improve design further on. How this initiative could be used as a long-term benefit could bring from the start, as I mentioned before. So at this design, we would use this as a design tool and improve schemes and projects long-term. So yes, thank you all for listening, and I would like to take questions at the end of the presentation.
Thank you so much, Sigal. That's really, really interesting to see how you use that technology to see how people responded to design, and then feeding that back into new projects that you've got. So thank you very much for sharing the detail of that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So we're going to move on. We've got two more speakers. Before we move on to the next speaker, I think Paul at BAM has got a video to share with the audience. So I'm just hoping that.
That's all good to go.
Our work across design, planning and visualization within BAM incorporates a wide variety of hardware, application and data stored at multiple locations. Sharing and collaborating across multiple locations can be time-consuming and stressful. Not anymore. We are introducing BAM's own digital construction workspace, a single secure platform for collaboration. BAM staff and suppliers can safely and quickly access all their applications and data anywhere, anytime, and on any device. In the background, IT provides a well-protected, unified platform so that all data, applications and intellectual properties are securely saved in our own private cloud. Heavy CAD computers belong to the past. Digital Construction Workspace is your virtual computer. No more reinventing the wheel. Once a BAM-approved application is installed on Digital Construction Workspace, it is available for everyone. You don't even have to install or update applications yourself. We do it for you. Regardless of your location, modifying and accessing data will always be a consistent experience with Digital Construction Workspace. Once you have been granted access, your applications are only a few clicks away. It really is that simple. All you need to start your working day is a stable internet connection. The better the connection, the better the experience. What's not to love? Digital Construction Workspace enables you, BAM, and our suppliers to work smart, slick, and quick. Let's connect, collaborate, and succeed.
Hello everybody, thank you for showing the video. It's great to be with you all today. I'm Paul Selby, Digital Construction Workspace Manager at BAM. So that isn't the actual video that we included in our entry to the judges. However, I felt that without the supporting documentation, this video would give you all the clearest overview of the digital technology that resulted in BAM being a Building Awards finalist. So thanks to Digital Construction Workspace, or DCW as we call it in-house, and BAM constantly looking at innovation. No corporate hardware is no problem. Any device, anytime, anywhere. Deploying applications and software has always been a frustration for many years across the industry, along with one version of the truth, thus design data models being centralized for collaboration and security. So this is not a problem with DCW. The solution is available on demand 24/7, 365 days a year to designers, planners, calculation teams, and visualizers, and those that render. As of today, we have a record-breaking use of DCW across the business, with over 200 applications readily available to the business and our joint venture partners with just a few admin clicks away. Sustainability, energy, and CO2 reductions, one of BAM's primary core values across all aspects of the business. In DCW, we have the latest green tech and automation tools to power off or on when demand decreases or increases. It's also agile. We can spin up for new projects and teams and sites within the hour, faster onboarding for new joiners or existing colleagues within BAM. DCW is a perfect solution for joint venture partners and has assisted the organization in driving down IT costs and setup time. A good example for this would be one of Europe's most significant construction projects, with over 50 joint venture partners using DCW daily in a safe and secure manner, plus in the knowledge we have first-class support and business continuity, along with disaster recovery and failover, with remote support across Europe. So how do we deliver this to the business? So the success of digital construction workspace is down to great collaboration in a joined-up approach to enable and support the business. Our trusted partner is Creative ITT, specialist in the AEC sector, providing managed services. This actually was a joint entry, but due to unforeseen circumstances, you just have me today. So what happened after the results evening and how did this shape and mold us? We took the opportunity to seize every moment and accelerate the enterprise-wide adoption of DCW. From the initial entry, a full-on internal marketing campaign started, and at every stage there was more reason to promote the awareness of the solution brand DCW. This enabled us actually to reach parts of the business that we were yet to identify. So as you can imagine, internally, DCW became a hot business topic for all the right reasons. It was now our door that kept knocking, and the adoption started to increase month on month at a rate never seen before. To be recognised at these prestigious awards amongst our peers in the industry changed mindsets and confirmed our new way of working had even greater potential. So we continue to look to the future. During consultation with the business, we identified the next big thing for digital construction workspace and VDI, and that is the metaverse. Through BAM's partnership with Creative ITC, DCW now has a live proof of concept in the metaverse. So Omniverse, underpinned by the Pixar animation technology, is the next enabler for the business. We're talking digital twin, VR, real-time collaboration across multiple disciplines with animation and render quality never seen before across the AEC industry. Thank you very much for your time. I welcome any questions later.
Thank you so much, Paul. That sounds really interesting, and I think I want to find out more about this Pixar-enabled technology later on. So thanks very much for your time. Right, we are going to move swiftly on to our final speaker, Robert Stiles at Future Joinery Systems. Robert, are you able to join us?
Hi there. Can you hear and see me?
Yes, that's perfect. I'm going to switch my...
Okay, great. I'll just share my screen then. Entire screen. Here we go. All good?
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm Rob from Future Joinery Systems, and we're a tiny kind of construction technology startup. Our initiative that was entered to the award is the business. It's not a part of the business or a side shoot or something. This is everything we've been kind of growing over the last couple of years. And what we've built is a BIM to manufacturing configurator. So what we're looking at here is bespoke joinery items and the kind of convoluted process of these items being drawn up multiple times, from design intent to shop drawings, all the way through to machine data that can be pushed forward on digital fabrication services. And what we've built to deal with this is a single model definition configurator. So there's quite a lot of talk about this in the industry at the moment. Some people referring to it as Industry 4.0. I saw something yesterday that came in called FIM, Fabrication Integrated Modeling, because we love a three-letter acronym in this industry. RIBA referring it to Design for Manufacturing and Assembly. But effectively, what we're doing is creating a single model definition which contains all the manufacturing data for that item to be pushed to digital fabrication, and then that's being used actually in the BIM model all the way back to kind of stage 2 configuration and concept design. So we've got a little video of it working here. So what's key is that it sits within existing CAD systems. Here it's running in SketchUp, and we've got a configurator which is referring to our model server in the cloud, and pulling in parametric models, which for those of you not familiar with that concept, it's basically designing without a metric reference. So these items, they're defined in the computer, but they can be any size, any kind of dimension can be varied. There's features that can be changed, which can make them a really quite different model when it comes through. The materials can all be changed. And so there's no modular design there. It is a completely bespoke item. Here's some seating being fabricated. And what's key here is that these models aren't being generated within the CAD system themselves. They're being ported in from our model server at a lower level of detail than is required for manufacturing. So, although this might be like LOD 300 in Revit or something, there's a high level of detail. That's still some way away from the level of detail that's required for fabrication. This one is actually on our model server, and you can see here that every joint, every tolerance, every hole is included. Whereas if you wind back to the ones that are being pushed through to the BIM software, it's enough for coordination, but it's some way short of what you would need to digitally fabricate that item. What's also key here is you'll see that there's a price at the bottom. Because we know exactly how much material is being used in each of those models in that particular configuration in live time as the architect's configuring it, we know exactly how much material it's going to take. We know how much fabrication time that's going to take. We know what the fittings costs are. So we're able to provide a completely accurate supply cost at the point where it's being configured and designed, right back at stage 3 planning application stage. Here you've got staircases. We've won a few awards for our staircases, and you're not just, the architect isn't just kind of working costs out based on a kind of gut feeling. They're actually working knowing exactly how much that cost is. From there, when that architect submits it through the portal, you see there's a submission button at the bottom of our configurator. That gets spun up on our model server at the high level of detail required for fabrication. and we can push that directly to an agnostic fabrication data set, which is then used by anybody with a CNC machine. At the moment here, we're concentrating at 2.5 axis CNC because it's ubiquitous throughout the industry. There's quite a lot of it here. And what comes off is like the best Airfix kit, you can imagine. And that means that there's everything for complex geometry fits together very precisely in much quicker time. I'm going to stop this and jump to the next slide now. So here you can see this is some seating that we did for, I think it was Cozy Club, where it's all coming to site, pre-marked up for assembly by the upholsterer there before it's upholstered. That's come directly from the models that are configured in the BIM software. We produce, full DFMA drawings for a simple fabrication. Here you see one of our staircases that was slotting into a series of double stringers, and there's the finished result. That was put together in about a day and a half from a contractor that wasn't us. We just supplied the parts, did a toolbox talk, went away, and they put that together. Then they finished it. There are still, some craft processes here, and they're finishing it and oiling it. And there's the finished result. There's another staircase that we did. This one is winner of Wood Awards, 3-story staircase with everything from office fit outs through the shop fit outs. There's a full bookshop, end-to-end storage there. A lot of domestic work. There's a few other applications that we've been exploring with, been talking to some of the country's leading concrete prefabrication people. It's basically suitable where anything where you need a high degree of accuracy and geometry is complicated. Here we're looking at a kicker to pick up the external skin on an insulated concrete formwork construction. A lot of cabinetry that we work on. Again, all the materials, the configurations are completely adaptable. Where are we now, and what's happened? It was only November when we were shortlisted for this award. We've since then we've won another small grant with the West of England Business Innovation Fund. It's not massive, but it's helping us progress a few points. We've just released 0.2.0 on the configurator, and it's up for beta testing. If anybody wants to contact us, reach out. They can. I'm delighted for them to give it a try. It is still at beta, but we're rapidly moving through some of those issues. Headcount has increased by 50%, which compared to some of the other finalists here of staff of 250 people, 50% sounds quite a lot, but there were only 3 of us before. So yeah, it's been interesting as we go through that process, and we've had an amazing start to the year with an incredible amount of new projects coming in. Some of those projects were very quickly to turn around because they are being configured by our users, and then it's a process of just processing that data and taking the DXFs out to a local manufacturer. And other ones we've been just given sketches, and we're working more as a consultancy to take using our technology to take those through to fabrication stage data. Challenges, well, I don't know where to start really. A lot. We're obviously, I'm an architect. I'm coming to what we are expecting now as a software company from not a background in that kind of business. So there's a lot of upskilling, understanding what can and can't be done. A lot of this technology is new. We're building new parts to join together a series of more established technologies, and that technology is entirely new. I think the biggest issue has been and will continue to be the culture and the attitude to risk in the industry. The savings that this technology offers people, both in time and in money, is significant. But the industry is still very used to doing what it's always done, and we're finding, even though those savings can be demonstrated, we're still taking on perhaps more responsibility on a job than we need to, because people just want to kind of package it up and hand it over. Whereas, you've seen in some of the other presentations here, when you're using these BIM technologies and the way that data can be held up in the cloud and pulled down by others, I think eventually it will switch to people configuring items and then pulling data down and then going directly to manufacturing to save the massive amount of fat that you get when it's stacked up of subby on subby on subby. Okay, so yeah, that's where we're going, and thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Robert. I think actually those points you made at the end, I'll invite everyone back in for our sort of final few minutes together. But I think possibly we could leap from what Rob was just saying there around culture and mindset, because I think it probably applies to his part of the industry, the sort of SMEs dealing with clients and trying to persuade them, as much as it applies to the bigger firms amongst the panelists, where you're maybe having to change mindsets within a big organization around these things. So if I could invite everybody to turn their webcams back on, and
I'll just check I'm not still sharing my screen, because
No, you're not. It's just everybody's face is back. So that's lovely. So yeah, if everyone's able to turn their mics on and just chip in, I guess, on that question around mindset and culture, it's going to be very different for different parts of the industry. So Rob, I think, really explained very well the challenges at his end of the industry, trying to persuade clients and to take on new technology and do things a different way, and perhaps as an SME feeling like they're taking on a bit more of the risk and responsibility at this stage because clients maybe have adopted. Have I interpreted that right, Rob?
Yeah, just to embellish on that, you do get, we're dealing with lots of different organizations. So one of the reasons we set this up really was to help with the kind of thousands of tens of thousands of tiny small businesses. So we help, like Man in a White Van with a Fez tool rail saw, as much as we're working with some of the larger organisations for fitting out teaching walls in schools. And it's important to us that we are focusing on both those sides of the industry. There's a lot of lots of really interesting new technology in massive kind of 10-story developments, but there's you all know from just trying to get some wardrobes fitted or a bit of decking done in your garden just how hard it is to engage in the kind of white van end of the industry, and that side needs progression as much as the larger businesses do, and actually down at that end, some of the engagement and the adaptation is probably greater because they're struggling with time and losing money on jobs which they haven't priced correctly and all that kind of stuff. At the larger end, actually, I find it harder, even though they've got more perhaps money and resources behind them. They will just kind of perhaps take the easier option and package up a series of subcontractor packages and move it constantly down the chain and it's kind of down at the smaller end. That they're up for experimenting maybe a bit more. Maybe it's smaller jobs, so maybe the risk is smaller, but to those operatives, it's a massive chunk of their personal businesses. So
yeah, no, it's great to get that perspective. I might just go to the other end of the spectrum, Paul and BAM, and what you feel about the mindset and culture.
Yeah, absolutely. The adoption and onboarding of VDI Digital Construction Workspace, that was a major challenge to us. We were just making great steps, and then obviously COVID arrived. Nobody anticipated that, working from home, supply chain issues, sourcing and procuring hardware, and this is where we really sort of seized an opportunity here. From people working at home using any device, being able to log on in a secure and safe manner. So that unfortunately, that situation really helped us gain traction within the business in terms of how we can use it. But certainly the culture and the change, some get it, others need more influence within the business to change to a new modern way of working, shall we say.
Yeah. Sagar, can I bring you in there? You're nodding.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with the other speakers today, that we have our challenges and we have had challenges, and to trying to, promote this initiative as a positive tool that can be used to influence design and improve design. But again, I think it's through education and training and showing that data to clients that this would only improve the process of the project and improve the delivery of the project at the end of the day. So yeah, I think there's still a lot of work to be done, but I think with more examples and case studies and more convincing and presentations and training, I think we can get there, definitely.
Wonderful. Luke, I'll come to you and then Gary on this point.
Thanks. Yeah, again, completely agree with what others have said. I think in terms of BIM itself, we've seen on sort of larger projects where we've taken BIM to higher levels, level 4, level 5. Some of those in the supply chain just aren't set up for that, and they've had to outsource a lot of it. And there's been a bit of a learning curve through that journey in terms of getting them upskilled and engaged in that process. But hopefully that's something that we'll start to see more and more of, and start to see them develop in-house capabilities as well throughout the supply chain. And I think then in terms of specifically our initiative, I think part of the process for us has really been the reaction of designers early on when Richard, our BIM lead, was getting involved, and obviously people are thinking why QS is interested in the model and what they're going to ask us to do and create additional work, sort of thing. And it's been very much a bit of a learning process for them to understand that we're not trying to create additional work. It's small tweaks actually pay big dividends for all of us throughout the project, and we're seeing designers that we work with regularly now adopting that as the kind of framework for their how they set their models up, which is great to see.
Wonderful. Gary, I'm going to come to you on this point as well around mindset and culture.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've kind of been involved in the construction industry for almost 20 years now, and when I started 20 years ago, it was very much two-dimensional CAD, and it was polylines for us in the building services industry. And what I've witnessed over the last 20 years and the adoption and the evolution of design and the digital construction has just been phenomenal. You know, maybe 10 years ago when we started getting into Revit and doing Revit, it was purely coordination tool. It was for making sure that all of our services had no sort of constructability issues on site. But at the moment now, the graph has almost went exponentially up, and now that we're looking at data, we're looking at sort of AI, we're looking at automation, and it's not just the design guys that are involved in BIM now. We have sort of opened that up to the entire company, whereas all of our estimation team, our cost team, our operations guys on site are all actively working within the BIM model and creating the BIM model. And we're seeing a transition from the traditional paper 2D drawings that we used to pin to the wall and colour in to sort of track how we were going. Everyone's running around with devices. We're using VR headsets. We're using AR headsets on site. We're inspecting 3D models in situ on the site. It's just a phenomenal update. But the problem that we are seeing is it's the training and the development in the background. Not all of the educational systems in the universities are at the crest of the wave like that we are in the industry, and we really are struggling with the younger generation come behind us that don't fully appreciate or understand the technologies until they arrive at our door, and a lot of the training has to be done in-house and on site. So we're actively working with universities here in Northern Ireland to try and push, the criteria and what they're teaching the guys. They seem to be 5 years behind us on the ground. So I think as the technology is almost doubled in speed, whereas the people is the most important part of it. The technology can become as amazing as you want, but if the people don't know how to use it and haven't been trained how to use it and don't understand it, then the whole house of cards just collapses around us. So I think there needs to be a real focus on education and training as much as we're putting this focus into the technology, or else it's a bit of a wasted exercise, I believe.
That's a really good point, and a really good. I'm afraid I'd love to keep on talking about this because it's fascinating, and I think there's a lot more to unpick. But we only have an hour here, but I think this does spark a lot of thoughts, and we are picking up on some of these themes later on today. So we have another session at 11, another at 2. So one is looking at emerging technologies, another is let me remember. The theme of the one at 2 is looking at how we can use digital solutions on retrofit projects. So I think that there are just so many aspects to this topic that this is not a one-time visit to this. We will be coming back to it. But thank you all so much, Gary, Luke, Paul, Rob, and Segal, for your input today. Your presentations were fascinating. And I think what's really encouraging is just to see firms at the cutting edge, and that's why we do the awards. It's to showcase your work, to celebrate the achievements, large and from the very largest companies down to the SMEs. It's really, really encouraging to see all of the progress that's being made. So thank you so much, everybody, and hopefully the audience can join us again at 11 and again at 2. Thank you.
Thank you.